Hi everyone, I hope you are doing well and fine. Welcome to your channel. Let's learn how to teach English. In this session I will teach you how to have an effective management of teaching and learning, how to manage effectively your teaching and your learning. So let's get started. Warm-up question is this question I will ask you that you answer together. Who are the people who help to manage the teaching and learning practices in school? So what are the people that help to manage teaching and learning practices in schools? So what do you think are these people? So they are headmasters, principals, supervisors and teachers. So this is some of the people who help a lot to manage the teaching and learning practices in school. Introduction. Many individuals contribute to monitor the teaching and learning practices in school in one way or another. But the teacher remains the only individual who can initiate and sustain improvement in student performance. So all these people they have just mentioned participate in teaching and learning practices in school, but the one who initiate and who helps a lot the teaching and learning practice in school, and the one who has a big influence on learners' performance or improvement is the teacher. Question 2. Yes, as teachers, how do you manage your teaching and learning? Now this is a very good question to you teachers. Of course, the person who are watching this channel are teachers. So as teachers, how do you manage your teaching and learning? How do you manage it? How? To manage well the learning process, a teacher should. So some tips that you should do in order to manage your teaching and learning process. Interact daily with your student to establish and maintain a good rapport with them. So you should interact every day with your students. Why? Because to build a good rapport with them. Because when you have a good rapport with them, I think the learners is motivated. Learner is willing to learn. The learning is willing to act positively. This good rapport will establish fosters development needs for them. So they will become interested to learn, to perform well. Plan and conduct lessons. You should plan your lessons well, because without planning is very important. It's a stage with the student, the teacher plan his lesson on the basis of students and learners' interests and needs. Manage this behavior peacefully and wisely. You should deal with disruptive behavior in a peaceful way, in a wisely way, in a pedagogical way, not to act violently. Manage the classroom professionally. The way you manage your classroom should be professional, so in a professional way. Some questions to consider. You want to reach the student. How do you do that? You need to have a good rapport. How will you assess to see if this is being accomplished? Means how you will assess. What evidence will you use? What do you look for when you are praising teachers? Answers. To be aware of instructional strategies, you will look to content knowledge, monitoring progress. What do we mean by instructional strategies? A teacher must create a lesson plan. Of course, without creating a lesson plan, your lesson will not be effective, will not be successful. Start a class on time. Yes, because time is very important in order to go through all the stages of lesson. So you should start on time. Communicate lesson objective to students. You should, at the beginning of the session, you should communicate your objective to students, because this is very important, to attract learners' interest and needs, and he will know what he's going to learn and how he will learn it or she will learn it. create a climate conducive to the learning process, establish ritual and routine, differentiate instruction, and your instruction should be differentiated. Why? Because in order to this will appeal to their needs and interests and their learning strategies, and close out the lesson. So this is some instruction strategies you should do while you are teaching. Content knowledge. The content knowledge, teachers connect new ideas, skills, and concepts to previous or future learning. So when the teacher, when the students has learned something in the class, you should tell them, this is has a relation with the next lesson or the last lesson. Expound on topic of discussion. Build for transfer by using familiar events or experience to link learning into real life. Yes, when something learned students in class, you should link this to the real life in order to give meaning to what students have learned in class. Activate prior knowledge into this concept. You should, before introducing concept, you should activate the prior knowledge. You can elicit from them what they have learned before, because this will help them to learn the new concepts. Point out similarities to strengthen learning and differences to avoid confusion. You should build the similarities. This will make the learning strong and to avoid confusion. Now, monitoring progress, that is assessments. The systematic observation and evaluation of student performance. Teacher quietly discuss with the individual students about their work. You should discuss with them their work, in order to, this also will help teacher to build a good rapport with sorry for the interruption. Assessment and grading. Continuous process. Provide feedback to improve student achievement. May be formative or summative. Provide a means of collecting evidence of student mastery of the content standard. Provides a photo album of student progress through which we can observe a student's growth. Giving mark to students' work. May be formative or summative. Often represented as an average, may not represent it at an adequate picture of students' growth or progress toward the learning goals. So this is the difference between assessment and grading. It's a continuous process. So assessment is continuous. It gives feedback to improve students' achievements. May be formative or summative. It means that it can be formative or summative, means to give the final overview or the final, opinion about learners performance. As you say, summative. Formative means it is a continuous, to train the learners or provide a means of collecting evidence. It's means of a student master the content. So it's a means by which we collect the evidence about students, performance. Provide a photo album of student progress. It gives us a photo album of progress through which we can observe a student growth. Now, characteristic of exemplary assessment. So, an assessment that is an assessment, really an assessment. So, some characteristics, some qualities by which we know this is a good assessment. Emphasize learning process as well as product. Requires active construction of meaning. Assess interdisciplinary and cross-disciplinary skills. Help students self-monitor their learning. Give specific expectation for students. Emphasize the application and use of knowledge. So this is very important. Students, they use the knowledge, they make use of it, has meaning and relevance to students. So this is what is an exemplary, some characteristics. Teacher duties and skills that help in managing the learning. So some duties, some skills that help the teacher to manage the learning. Planning for student learning. You should plan. So before coming to class, the teacher must plan his lesson well, not just plan, a good planning. Teaching for student learning. So when you teach, when you choose a strategy in class, bear in mind the strategy, does it appeal to learners' needs? When you choose a method or a technique or anything or material, you should know, does it appeal to learners' needs and interests? Creating classroom environment for students. The teacher does his best to create a classroom environment where students learn. Personal characteristics. Professional development. So personal characteristics and interpersonal skills, leadership and management skills. Some of the duties that help in managing the learning. Some principles that are essential. So we have seen some skill. Now we see some principle in managing the learning. Teachers know the subject that they teach. Teachers should have a good mastery of the subject matter. Teachers know how to teach the subject for which they are responsible. So the first thing, you should know the subject. Second thing, you should have a mastery of the methodology of teaching the subject. Teachers are committed to children in their care and effectively manage diversity to promote inclusiveness in the learning process. Should care about the children, should manage diversity. Teachers sharpen their professional skills. Teachers interact with parents and the community, should have a good interaction, a good relation with parents and the community. Teachers conduct themselves in a manner that will uplift the profession. So these are some principles that are very important in managing, teaching and learning. Teacher appraisal. The responsibility of evaluate teachers does not rest solely with administrators. Teachers themselves have a responsibility to evaluate their own practices. Very good. What is called reflection. The teacher should do in every session to evaluate his or her practices, whether has achieved the main goals or not, whether his professional qualities and characteristics is developing or no. Many are seeking innovative ways to reflect on their teaching. This type of innovation must be encouraged. So this is teacher appraisal. So the responsibility to evaluate teacher does not administrators job, but also teachers' job. Teacher must evaluate their practices from time to time, because this will have a good impact on learning and teaching. Questions. So for next time, I'm going to ask you this question: what are some of the indicators that show that the teacher know her class? So some indicators that show that you know well your class. Do you know your students? Do you know them? How does this help you to manage your class? How this will help you to manage your class well? So this is some decision of today in which you have learned how to manage effectively, or an effective management of teaching and learning. I hope you enjoyed the session of today, and I see you in another session where you learn how to teach English.